Well, great day, everyone. So glad to have you with us. Welcome to Spirit in Mind. We are committed to sharing faith and mental health perspectives on current affairs. And we're so glad that you are a part of our Spirit in Mind family today. I'm grateful, as always, to have Dr. Shepherd with us, our co hosting colleague today. Dr. Shepherd, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, Bishop. Doing pretty good. Glad to be here. How are
Awesome.
you?
Awesome. All is well. It's been an interesting week and a week with much to discuss. But would you please tell someone that we are on and we enjoy so much having you with us, Sister Angela Pinkney and Hackshaw and Catherine Jones and so many others who are joining us. Feel free to share and tell someone that it is time for Spirit in Mind, where we again give faith and mental health perspectives on current affairs. And we normally start, we have some great guests with us again, and they'll be joining us, and we'll be saying more about them in a matter of moments. But we always start off with an update from Dr. Shepherd. And on this World Mental Health Day, how appropriate it is to have an update from you, Dr. Shepherd. So COVID, World Mental Health, get us up to speed, if you would.
Absolutely. Yeah. So really the big news is today is World Mental Health Day. And so happy World Mental Health Day. Make sure that you're taking care of your mental health. Mental health can be boiled down to 4 points: your potential, your ability to cope, your ability to work, and your ability to make a contribution. PCWC, those who have heard me speak know that is my mantra. So I want to just again welcome you to World Mental Health Day. I want to say a couple of things for regarding World Mental Health Day, that you want to take care of yourself. There is a quote that says almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. And so we need to unplug at times. I've had to do that over the last couple of weeks. And Bishop, I failed to let you know, Dr. Patricia Newton, who was the medical director of the Black Psychiatrists of America. I'm not sure if you're aware, but she died suddenly. And so I want to recognize her even on this program, as she was very instrumental in some of the abilities for me to move forward and elevate even in my profession and networking, to allow me to have opportunities across the waters, even in the continent of Africa. So I want to acknowledge her life and legacy. But then also this past week, 2 days ago, suffered the tragic loss. My church family suffered the tragic loss of one of our elders, Shannon Cotman. And I want to acknowledge him also. This is a peer and colleague. We worked together just as recently as 5 weeks ago for a project at his school. And to hear of the tragic sudden death of my brother, who actually did watch this show. He mentioned it when we were together September 2nd at his school. And he mentioned it to them that he was familiar with Spirit in Mind broadcasts. And so, yeah, heart is just heavy this last 2 days. And just with everything that is occurring within our world today on World Mental Health Day, I want to encourage you all to take care of yourselves. If you need to unplug, I won't say if you need, you unplug. I'll just say that. And just as my internet wasn't working yesterday, and I called the folks at Best Buy, like, what's up? What's going on? All I had to do was unplug the router, unplug the modem, and leave it alone for a couple of minutes. And guess what happened? That modem kicked right back on in. It's just the same thing with us. You unplug that cell phone, unplug that TV, and make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Don't unplug from the word of the Lord now, but unplug from everything else that is distracting you, so many of the stressors. And as you're doing that, watch yourself be renewed, refreshed, and revived. And so I look forward to seeing so many of you all at the end of this pandemic, when we're able to have a wonderful day where we can celebrate Spirit and Mind in person. So continue to be blessed on this World Mental Health Day. That's all I want to say for now, Bishop. I know we want to get into today's topic.
Yes, that's a good start for us, though, Dr. Shepherd. We thank you for that importance of unplugging. Since it's a Spirit and Mind, it's a Christian thing to do. For the scriptures are clear. Luke 5:16 says Jesus withdrew frequently to the wilderness to pray. So he unplugged, if you will. What a powerful Christological concept, but we won't get into all of that theological banter. But in this display of the hypostatic union, Jesus gets away frequently in his humanity to recharge, to come back to do ministry to the masses. And so it's a very Christian thing to do, that we do that. And yes, Dr. Newton, we certainly praying for our family. I remember you making our acquaintance a little while ago, and she was so very kind, and even such a powerful endorsement of critical collaboration. She actually got my book, and I was going to give it to her, but she insisted on. That's just kind of the giving person and influence that she was. So she made an impact on my life as well in those brief encounters. Yes. So praying for you, Dr. Shepherd. And
thank you, sir.
Praying for the mental health of everyone. And what a segue to say today, our title, of course, is praying for the souls of Black girls, which is taken from a documentary and a news article that appeared in the New York Times. And so we began to talk about this. The documentary was really talking about imaging and what marketing images may send in terms of messaging to concepts of beauty, pulchritude, to our African American family, particularly women and girls. And so the article went on to talk about the disproportionate exercising of extreme disciplinary measures taken disproportionately against African American girls in learning settings. Excuse me. And so thank you. Excuse me. And so with that in mind, we began to talk about that, and we've been having some incredible guests on, and we're grateful for our guests who shared with us last week. And this week we have some exciting guests who will continue to talk about these kinds of things. W.E.B. Du Bois said that to be African American is to wrestle with double consciousness, being African or of African descent, and then in an American culture or context. So he presented it as an existential issue of which we need to be aware. And following that, his intellectual contemporary, Dr. Anna Julia Cooper, added that to be a woman is triple consciousness, that it is African American, and then it is the gender issues that come with being a woman. And so we have been talking about that, and today we're adding the perspectives of some wonderful guests. And Dr. Shepherd, you've laid such a foundation of introducing our guests. Would you continue for us at this point?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to start with Dorcas Austin. Ms. Dorcas Austin, she's going to come on in, and she is a sister and friend. And when I say a sister, she really is a sister. I have known Dorcas just about all of my life. Yeah, I'm a little older than her, so. So come on in, Dorcas, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll introduce the next guest.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. I'm Dorcas Austin, born and raised in Chicago. Yes, born and raised with Dr. Shepherd. I live in Maryland now. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. I help people to heal. I help people to become more spiritually and emotionally integrated in their lives. And I love the work that I do. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I know that this is a faith conversation. So born and raised in the Church of God in Christ too. So my roots are Pentecostal. I love all things faith. I love all things church. And I'm just really excited about getting into this conversation.
Wonderful. She sounds like a therapist. As she talks. Oh, that's wonderful. And then we have Minister Audrey Hill. And so we are so happy for you to join us with her beautiful smiling face. And why don't you please introduce yourself to the Spirit in Mind viewers on this afternoon.
Great day, everyone. I am Minister Audrey Hill, and I am blessed to be a member of the Tabernacle of the Lord Church and Ministries right here in Baltimore, Maryland, with our awesome pastor, Bishop C. Guy Robinson. I am also a mother, and I am a brand new author of my first book, From Trauma to Transformation, All Things New, which is a bit of my journey of healing and discovery. And how God has used that journey to transform my life for the better. And I am blessed also to be have the opportunity to serve as a healer for others. And so I'm just blessed to be a part of this conversation today as well. And I'm looking forward to how God is going to move. So thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Bishop, let's get started here.
Well, we really want to hear from you all, and so I'm just going to pose this question, and then go with it and glean from your wisdom and insight today. And Dr. Shepherd and I, that's our main plan, and we'll interject as needed. But the questions are, of course, in light of there's so much happening in the culture with the Breonna Taylor case. One person said that sent a signal that to be an African American woman is collateral damage in a system. These things you can argue. The police officer was doing his job. You argue that one person was defending their ground and standing their ground, licensed to carry a firearm. But in the midst of these policies, there's a collateral damage. And then, of course, we have this week the vice presidential debate, which was historic in the context of a woman with African American heritage and lineage. And the famous line that's blowing up social media is her proclivity and frequent saying, "Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking." As if, and so here's the point: what message does that send? One commentator said that presidential candidate Kamala Harris represented the frustration of women who are continually trying to be heard and balance that balancing beam between not coming off as angry, but also being assertive and not being overlooked. So they're the things that we want to hear from you in terms of what messages do they send. We can start with you, Counselor Austin. What are the perspectives?
Oh my goodness.
Just before she starts, I want everybody to mute themselves so we can reduce the feedback. So we can make sure so if you're not speaking, just make sure you mute yourself. All right. So go ahead now, Dorcas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a loaded question from Breonna to the debate. And I'm just like, where do I start? I'm going to go ahead and start at the debate. I mean, that's kind of like, that was just the highlight of my week. I just love watching the debate. I really usually don't keep up with politics and, all the different debates. I tried to watch the presidential debate, but I, like so many other Americans, couldn't really stomach it. But I feel like I got everything that I wanted out of this VP presidential debate, just to see that Black woman on that stage with that white man and to see her hold her ground the way that she did. I just loved it. And she didn't disappoint me because because I feel like I knew that's what she was going to do, because every time that I've seen her in the past, and, people, have their comments and their opinions about, her kind of political stances and some of the things that she's done. But every time that I have seen her, she has impressed me because she just looks like she brings her full self to the table. And she just puts it out there. She's not going to let anybody make her be too white, too black. She's going to just be exactly who she is. And I just appreciated just seeing that example, because we don't see that example. Sometimes we as Black women, we feel this pressure that we have to kind of downplay our Blackness and be more white. And sometimes we feel like we have to, downplay, our education to be more Black, but she just wonderfully brought all these pieces of herself to the table. And I feel like as African-American women, that's what we are challenged to do each and every day. Just bring all of those pieces to the table, not trying to put a cover over any of those pieces, and really being herself. I love the remark about how, she had to, frequently tell the vice president, hey, I'm speaking, let me have my turn. So in my mind, what she did was she asserted herself. And this is important because this is a lesson that most Black girls are not taught. This is a message that we are not given. And so, I told my story, as you can see, Black woman, female, grew up in church, and we got many messages. We got messages when Dr. Shepard and I were growing up. As a girl, I was a part of this at our church. We had for the girls what we called our purity department. And so all the girls were Puritans. And so we would, once a week come to church, and we would meet and talk about etiquette and talk about all these rules around how to walk, how to sit, how to eat, how to do this, how to do that. I loved it. I promise you, if I saw my purity book tomorrow, I would still have those feelings that come to mind, and just those feelings of joy. And I just, I loved everything about it. But as an adult woman, when I look in retrospect, what I missed is the lesson that taught me how to assert myself. What I missed was the lesson that taught me how to stand up to authority. What I missed was the lesson that taught me how to speak up for myself. And that's something that I had to kind of just learn on my own. And so this Kamala, she just put it out there for us. She just set this motto for women and for girls all over the world that there is, another way to be. You can be smart, nice, and follow all the etiquette, but you can also be assertive. You can stand up for yourself, and you can make people respect you. And we just, as a country, as Black women, we needed to see that.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. And I think one of the highlights for me was when the moderator calls her Kamala Harris without the senator in front, without acknowledging her title. And then she corrects herself. And then she says her name again, but she says Senator Kamala Harris. And I love how she just point blank, no, I'm Kamala. I love that, because that spoke to the fact for me that she is confident in who she is. She knows who she is without the title. The title is, it doesn't matter either way. She's walking in the power of who she is. And that's something that has to be modeled for us, for our young girls. Last week, I was watching the segment from last week's show, and how Minister Robinson and Counselor Chantel Biddings were saying about the importance of starting when they're young, with our young girls when they are young, and speaking life into them and empowering them and ministering to their esteem. And doing so also ministers to that mental health. And as they mature, it proves itself. It speaks. You see it in how they carry themselves, how they speak, how they conduct themselves, how they think. And I that just blessed me. So I mean, the whole debate blessed me. But I loved when she spoke in her strength in that way. And that just reminded me, like, we've got to do that with our young women, our young girls. We've got to do it as older women, as an example, through mentorship, because that was another thing that you all talked about on last week. Speaking to the mentorship, us being an example for the younger generation of what it looks like to walk and own our power.
Excellent. Wow. Dr. Shepherd?
I was just going to say, thank you for that. And just repeating a little bit about what you said, learning the lesson to speak up for yourself, assertion and confidence. And that is so important for our people, and to see people who look like us, who are doing it and doing it well. One of the things that I noted was from the article, and we didn't get a chance to really go into this much last week, and just wanted to highlight the reason why we need to do this. If you look at the city of Baltimore, as this article that we're basing a lot of the today's show off of, it mentioned how Black girls are 4 times more likely than white girls to get suspended, and more than twice as likely as white girls to get expelled. And this was from 2016 to 2017. And just to let you know, those stats have not changed. If anything, they've probably gotten worse. And so when I hear how these stats are being portrayed, sometimes Black girls, when they're in class and when they try to exude confidence, this is what they end up happening. They get suspended. They get reprimanded. And so what I would like for you to do is to speak to those young women, because we do have young women and parents, as to how do you manage and navigate, especially with you all having successful careers, you being an author, you being a licensed professional counselor. How do you navigate those waters? Because that is something that happens, that when you start to speak up, and now we're going to see even more people speak up, how do you navigate those waters as Dr. As I keep saying doctor, so I know you Dr. Robinson, but Bishop Robinson. but as he talked about the triple consciousness, help us to navigate how you handle those pressures, Dorcas, how you handle those pressures, Minister Hill, and being a Black woman.
Ooh, that's a really good question. I read the article, and it was a really good article. So I don't know if there could be a link or something to it. However, after, getting through the article, all I could do was shake my head and say, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Black girls and Black boys are, suspended more. Their punishments are more stringent and more rigid than others. I mean, I feel like, this is something that's been going on for a long time, especially with Black people. And it's unfortunate that our Black young people have to experience this. It's this kind of over focus on law and order. That's what we do with Black people. It's all about law and order. And if we look at you and you look like you a little out of line, oh no, you got to go. And I feel like this is something that's been going on historically with Black people, trying to get Black people to walk the fine line of something. But we've internalized that sense of law and order too. And so we demand the same thing. We're doing the same thing to our Black girls and to our Black young men, like demanding that, I know one of the examples I was giving in the article was talking about the dress of girls. They said that Black girls who wear the same things as white girls are more likely to be suspended and punished for what they're wearing to school. And the white girls are wearing the same thing. And that wasn't a surprise because I've lived that world. I grew up in these groups that were predominantly white. And I also had groups that were predominantly Black. And I saw the differences in treatment and how, when white girls wear stuff, it's just allowed. It's okay. It's totally fine. But as soon as Black girls start start wearing the same thing, it's like, oh, all of a sudden it's a problem. We got to stop. We got to stop and take care of this. Yes, that happens from the outside, the larger society. But the unfortunate thing is that it kind of trickles in. We internalize these judgments and we start judging each other the same way. So we have these high judgments of Black girls and what they are wearing and how they are acting, just like the white society. And so what I really want to encourage our women to do, and I also want to encourage our men to really take a stand to support Black girls, Black women, because these Black girls can't do it by themselves. Yes, we encourage Black girls to go to school and show up as you are, you know, do the best that you can, assert yourself, you know, as much as you can. But I think that it's up to us to really kind of note kind of some of these trends, and we have to do something about it. We have to hold these school systems accountable for, you know, fairly treating our Black girls. You know, it's not just the burden of the girls that are in school, it's our society's burden. We should not be okay with that. And so I just want to see us step up just a little bit more to really come to the defense of these Black girls in these public places.
Good.
I definitely agree with that. If I were to add anything, I would go back to this thought that for us as the adults, that we definitely need to do our due diligence to find our ways of educating ourselves first, to then be able to educate our younger generation. I was thinking about during the time of the Freddie Gray death, that it seemed as if there was this, everyone was coming together to become more knowledgeable as to how to inform our younger generation of how to handle themselves if they're stopped, if they're pulled over by a police officer. And it seemed to me that it helped our younger generation to feel more empowered, definitely more informed, but even more empowered to be able to go out and to drive and to feel, you know, that they could, to drive or to go out with their friends, whatever the case may be, but to feel that they knew a little bit better as to how to handle a situation if they were ever stopped by a police officer. I think that it's sort of the same situation here, that we as the adults, we have to become more informed first, and with that knowledge, then share it with our younger generation to make them aware of the fact that these are some circumstances and situations that you may find yourself in. However, for it to work best for you, consider handling the situation this way. Consider the approach in this manner. When you experience these circumstances, don't allow it to impact you in this way and tear at your esteem and cause you, because one of the things that greatly disheartened me with that article was the parent saying, I'm now trying to teach my daughter it's okay to be giddy. It's okay to be giddy. It's okay to be happy. But she doesn't believe me. Is that what to my recollection, that was what I read. That's disheartening. And the mother now having to go back and just keep pretty much drilling into her daughter. Listen, it's okay. The way that you are, there's nothing wrong with you. You are beautiful just the way that you are. But it's that having to do that work. And we have to be committed as the adults. We have to be committed to the work, because it's not necessarily one conversation, one pep talk, one information session is not going to do it. It's going to take time and effort and lots of love to bring our children to a place where they are able to walk in the confidence of knowing that how they are, They are beautifully and wonderfully made, and there's no reason for them to feel inferior or indifferent, but that they are blessed, and who they are is a blessing, and to be able to walk into that strength. So
that's powerful. Can I ask a question that that both of you from your insight has raised up in me, just to learn from your glean from your experience and expertise? You seem to me, I hear two fields of concern. One is the ideological, the other is the practice. In terms of the ideology, there is what you just raised, Counselor Austin, this profound, disproportionate double standard, whereby and it's with Black women. It's so many ways we could go with that. It's a militia that goes with weapons and stands on the courthouse or in the state house of a governor's. It's a group of men that conspire to kidnap a governor of a United States governor with the intention of pushing their agenda. And if that were done in any other persons or any other ethnic group or race, the labeling would be different. It is the taking Dylan Roof to get something to eat when he finishes slaughtering persons in Mother Emanuel Church, and then putting your neck on someone for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for a much less severe infraction. So there's this severe disadvantage that also includes this disproportionate amount of punitive measures taken against our young girls in school systems. So there's that. There's the truth that must be advocated for. That requires, even on the part of the church, more prophetic ministry in terms of speaking truth to power in the prophetic tradition. But the question that it raises for me practically is the other point of what you bring up, Minister Hill, is with mentoring and teaching them. Is there a particular way right now in the mentoring that has to include a specific way to be assertive and speak truth to power and yet be mindful of those realities? Because perhaps I'm wondering if that's what Senator Harris was showing the other day at the debate. This, I want to check you. I want to do it. I'm not going to. I saw a post from a few persons on social media, Charlemagne the God and all of those, who kind of had this post up to say, you got to learn how to debate a Black woman. You can't learn that automatically because that's a skill. And the kind of joke, which may not have been funny to some, but the kind of joke was like, you're not ready for this. And there's nothing wrong with that. But is there a scene in which that would be misinterpreted, stereotyped? And is there this sense of, I have to tone it down even when I'm being assertive because of the realities? Because when I'm stopped by a police officer, I want to get home alive. Is that what we see? The Sandra Bland situation of how law enforcement engages and sees certain persons of color. So is there a need to mentor? I'm asking, is there a need to mentor in a particular way right now on how to engage powers that be, knowing that we may be ideologically right, but in that moment, the pragmatic reality is you got to get home alive?
I definitely believe that it is. Ultimately, in the end, I keep thinking to myself, I grew up attending predominantly white schools the entire time. And one of the things that I remember being said more than once is just that we as Blacks, as Black girls, were considered more hostile or angry. And I still hear that even to this day. And when I watched that debate, I thought to myself, I'm sure she's agitated. She's irritated at the fact that he keeps interrupting. He keeps cutting her off. But she handled it in such an eloquent, poised way. I mean, it was just a great example of what it looks like to make your argument without arguing. She just for me, I think that we have to teach our young ladies how to conduct ourselves in such a way, to conduct themselves in such a way that, again, you learn how to assert yourself in certain situations and conversations and in, opportunities and so forth, but to also make your point known without coming off angry and hostile, because ultimately in the end, you want whomever to hear you. You want them to receive your message. He definitely received her message. I mean, he may not have liked what she said, but he heard her. And he, to me, he had to acquiesce to her in some way, to some degree, because he heard her. She made her presence known. She made her point known. And I believe that we, the older generation, we have to teach our young ladies how to do that in a beautiful way. But yet that still says, I know who I am. I'm not flinching. I'm going to make my point known. You're going to hear me. We may not agree, but we can agree to disagree, if nothing else. So.
I agree. I completely agree. I think that the best mentorship right now is exactly as Minister Hill said, modeling how to use your voice, modeling how to stand up for yourself, modeling these things. I think that's what the girls need to see. They really need to see us doing these things. And I thought that Kamala did wonderful in modeling that for the young women. I'm reading, I think it was Regina Weathersby. I'm also reading the comments, the Facebook comments. I'm trying to get good. It says that we are labeled as aggressive when we assert ourselves. And it's so true. And thank you so much, Minister Hill, for saying they label us as angry. Oh, it's the angry Black woman. You know, they have these labels, but we can't be afraid of the labels. I'm sure there was someone that watched the debate and they probably did. I'm sure there's a nice group of Americans who watched the debate and thought that she was, Senator Kamala was overly aggressive, overly assertive. She didn't stay in her place. I'm sure that's what they took away from it. But we cannot get sidetracked by that. We cannot dim our lights because of that. We cannot be overly concerned about these labels. We have to be more concerned about the importance of standing up for ourselves, the importance of really expressing who we truly are and what we're truly feeling. I feel like the cause of many mental illnesses, especially for Black women, is just this suppression. We have to just suppress all of this stuff, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. We can't say anything about it. We work jobs where we have to just keep all this stuff to ourselves. Like we just cannot like come outside of ourselves. And that's what causes just so much anxiety. It causes so much sadness and, you know, so many other things. And in order for us to take care of that, we're going to have to get to the root cause. And that's coming outside of ourselves and expressing ourselves. And that's exactly what our young girls need to see, that being modeled for them. And I also, while we're talking about girls, like this is a really dear topic to me because it starts real young. So I'm not even talking about high school right now. I even want to talk about the little girls, 3 and 4 years old. I notice a difference, and please try to do this research with me. But I notice a difference when I see little Black girls versus little white girls. Just take like at a restaurant or on the streets. I can look a little white girl in her face. She can look at me and she will light up. She will start smiling and wanting me to play with her or do something, wave at her. She's just waiting on me to light up right with her. Take a little Black girl, 3, 4 years old, little. Like I will look at a Black girl in her face. She will look at me and immediately look away. Wow. That's the response. Just look, no emotion, no smile, no, I'm here, let's play, none of that. Just look away. What has that little Black girl experienced that white girl did not experience? What is it that Black girl, what's going on in her mind where she's not even able to just open up to the world and feel like the world would open up to her? Like there's something that's happening from these really, really early stages that kind of puts our Black girls and other girls on just two separate tracks. And I think it's up to the adults to really, one, model, and two, engage in healthy relationships with, Black girls when we can, the Black girls that are at our churches, in our spiritual communities, in our, the neighborhoods that we live in. Like, I always try my best to just really make that eye contact and smile and say something positive, because this is what they need. They need to see the world lighting up in their presence. They really need to see this so that they can know that they are valued and they are a valued member of this society. But I think that's the adults, that's the type of mentoring that we need to do. It's modeling and also engaging in these healthy relationships with Black girls.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, that connection right there is powerful. And so again, you just kind of awaken me just to a whole other level as far as realizing that may be a potential source of why we see so many mental health disorders within women of color and within Black women. And absolutely, when you look at the demographics of those who are seeking treatment, it is primarily the Black women when you're looking at the Blacks who are seeking out mental health treatment. And that suppression, I just want to hang there just for a couple seconds. That suppression is real because there's so much that we internalize. I think, Bishop, you made some reference earlier as we look at our historical roots. The women, as they have had to endure being raped, sexually assaulted when they were slaves, and even when they were not slaves, and even how they were taught when their uncles would go into their bedroom and molest them, and how they were told not to say anything about it, or boyfriends, things like that. Again, this is happening even today. There is a stat even how most Black women have endured some type of sexual assault by their teens. That's sad. And I guess I really, and I just kind of felt the weight of it as you just said that, Dorcas and Minister Hill. So what one of the things I want to talk about, I know we're starting to get into the home stretch here, is you mentioned the faith community, and this is a faith-based program, and you kind of shed a little bit of light, but I want you to go dig a little bit deeper, give some insight. What can we do in the faith community to make sure that we are building up our young ladies, that we're building up our young women? Church is viewed different ways out there. Some people use it as an emotional release, and they're good. And again, I'm not knocking for those who just use it as an emotional release, and that's good. But we know that the church that God built is more for just emotional release. It is meant for complete wholeness of mind, spirit, and body. And so we want to make sure that we are developing those type of people within our faith community. So what is it that we can do? What would be your recommendations that you would give to us, to give to our listening audience, to how we can build up our young ladies within the faith community?
And while we go to that, can we tag to that wonderful question? Minister Hill, you have, that's as I understand the content of your book, some things in which the ability to tell your story and the faith community have been essential to your transformation in your ministry. So can you just kind of allude what things about the faith community were helpful? And what things about your story did the faith community minister to? What do we need to do more of? And what do we need to start doing to be better? All of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I will say for certain that the word is what helped. The word is what did it for me. I grew up in church, loved the Lord, saved, but I did not truly understand my worth because I really wasn't in his word. And his word, part of my testimony is the fact that his word really does bring healing. And the more that we know it and rightfully divide his word, if you will, that healing comes. And as we engage in the word to share it with our young girls, our young boys, to share who they are according to the word of God, because that, I just believe that builds up strength in their character. It brings healing to their minds, because again, I'm a living witness to that. I believe that as this whole season that we're in particular, that it's really an opportunity for evangelistic impact in a greater way, because it's through, again, our connection to God and his word that healing really can take place. And so much of what we're seeing, it's just one traumatic experience after the other. And the only way we're going to make it through it is if we really are guarding our minds and our hearts, that we are really engaging in his word and allowing his word to minister to us and give us the guidance as to how we navigate these challenging waters. And so for me, I believe that, again, it's going to the word, it's sharing the love of God, sharing to our young people who God says they are. Who are you in the eyes of God? See yourself not through the eyes of man, not through the eyes of commercials and fashion and models and all these sorts of things, but who does God say you are? And then go from there. And then us as a community of faith to come together and, again, exemplify the love of Christ and how we handle one another, how we engage with one another, even how we engage in moments when, we may not agree, but we choose to agree to disagree. That, for me, I believe that all speaks and it helps our young people to grow up in a healthier way, in a healthier mindset that impacts them mentally, even physically. Because so many, it's interesting to me, and I could be wrong, but I just think that so many of our young people are dealing with so many health issues that I don't remember many of us dealing with, when we were coming up. But it's all of this stress, all of this trauma. It's the not knowing who they are, not knowing where they stand, not knowing that they're truly loved. And I just believe that all of that, we can share that from a family of faith, from the faith community, to be a greater blessing to our young people.
Yeah. Please help us out, counselor. What can we do better, and what do we need to keep doing?
Yeah, thanks for saying that. What should we keep doing? Because I think that we're doing a lot. We are, I think for a lot of us, church was the first place where we had a microphone in front of our mouths and we were able to speak publicly and say anything. If it wasn't for the church, I probably would have never done that. I think the church is just a foundation for what the things that we're talking about, like really people building their esteem and, building their sense of worth and their confidence. So, I think that they're doing a lot. And even as I spoke about, in the earlier, my purity class, which I loved, and so we're grouping girls together. We're creating social outlets for them. This is what they need. We're creating these healthy relationships. We can just add some of the stuff that we talked about, like the assertiveness training. We can add, just teaching them more how to stand up, not only to their peers, but to authority. We still haven't gone deep into that, but that's a thing. When you get out here as a young person, you have your bachelor's degree, you go into corporate, you're going to have some people that you're going to have to look in the face and not be afraid of, just because they're your boss, just because they're an authority. How do you stand up to authority? Maybe we wouldn't have so much of this, sexual abuse and assault if the girls knew how to truly stand up for themselves, but we just didn't learn it. We weren't taught it. So I just feel like there's so much more that we can just unfold in our faith communities. And the other thing that stands out, don't be upset with me, but I do believe that girls need to see a more kind of equal footing for women and men in our faith communities. Like I know for, us, we grew up in a church where there were all men sitting on the platform. What does that say to a girl? That's just, just what does this say to a girl? I mean, so yes, we check kind of that explicit stuff that we do, but we also have to check kind of the other stuff that we just kind of take for granted. Like, oh no, that's just kind of how we always did it. But that's communicating a message to the little girls that are there. So there are some things even within our worship experience that we may have to change just to make sure that our girls know that there is equal footing. Hey, honey, there is nothing that you cannot do. You are a born leader, and I'm going to let you know, we have to show them that we're committed to their full development and evolution into the person that God has created them to be.
This is good. This is good. And I know we're out of time, but you have raised some good stuff. So we're doing, first of all, as the Episcopal representative, you have made my heart glad to say that we're doing some stuff well. And the statistics show it in terms of how faith, you said a foundation, and how that foundation benefits particularly people of African American ethnicity. And so that is so very important. And I hear that loud and clear. And so the church is doing, and we need to continue. And I hear that we will probably have a great discussion on here on, you raise the idea of what is really egalitarian as opposed to complementarian theological perspectives. And egalitarian theology, women and men are not distinguished by their gender, but they live by Galatians 3 that says in Christ there is no male, female, Jew, or Greek. And so that's an egalitarian theological perspective for you nerds out there. But that's a powerful witness that you're sharing. And one thing that I think we can continue to do is talk and have these forums. And that's why I'm so grateful to hear from you. And I think that's something the church can do. One of the reasons that the effectiveness of the church is not always recognized is because our research methodology is different from the scientific methods that we are taught in school. By that, I mean our efficacy and the turnaround stories are really case studies, but we don't document them with the same kind of thing. We don't take soap notes when we meet with people and turn their lives around. But if we did, there would be a great record, even more so, of documented cases of how the faith has helped persons in its role as the first responders and soul care providers. And so I think that these kind of discussions have to happen for the documentation for those who strictly judge efficacy by scientific methodology, to be able to say, no, here's some documented cases that in the African American community, the faith institution works. And so this has been so important to that. And Dr. Shepherd, I know we got about 2 minutes, and we respect the time of our guests. So you hoop us out of here in Jesus' name.
Thank you so much.
I'll just say this,
Thank you.
Counselor Austin, and I'm so used to saying Dorcas, but I know you have put a title in there. Counselor Austin and Minister Hill, you said something that was so powerful, that the word brings worth. And so I am going to hang my hat on that. The word brings worth. And so, yes, you do build up yourself, and God's word does build you up. And so you want to make sure that you understand, and first of all, read it, and then begin to understand it and comprehend it. And so I think that is powerful. Again, today was such an informative session. We dug a little bit deeper today, and I'm thankful for the insight that was given. I want to also just recognize that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where we are focusing in on the physical health of also our women, because as we talk about the mental health, we have to also relate it to the physical health. And so many of our women out there are plagued by this particular disease. And so I know that physical health will affect your mental health. And so this particular month, we dedicate to those women who have been affected by any type of physical or mental illness. And so we want to make sure you're being checked out. You're getting screened for all of those diseases. So, Bishop, that's all I wanted to say, that the word brings worth. We understand your mental health. Make sure it lines up with your physical health. And that's all that I have for today. Oh, you're muted, Bishop. You're muted.
Yeah. Wonderful. We know our guests have other commitments, so we want to let them go. We did put that article in the chat line as Councilor Austin recommended, so it is in the chat line if you want to read about that. Regina Weathersby, thank you so much for your insight. You are a teacher and educator, and your insight is valuable, as well as our entire Bishop Lloyd Austin. Thank you for being with us again, sir. We are honored to have you with us in the great state of North Carolina, and others watching from all over these continental United States. Thank you for being a part of Spirit in Mind. Tell somebody about us, because we'll be here next week. Should the Lord give us grace, and join us on Spirit in Mind.